3, 2, 1. We're on. Welcome to breakfast. Are we doing that every time?
I was just trying to psych you out.
Is that a thing?
At the same time.
I don't know if we want to make that a thing.
You went way too fast, though.
That
would
was
sound really cute.
Partially intentional, because I don't know if I want to make that a thing.
I think we should.
I don't know if we're going to be able to pull that off every time. Because, quite frankly, the first one we did with the previous episode was pretty good. I think we'll just end it right there.
Okay, whatever. I'm not going to fight with you on such a trivial thing on our podcast. Okay. We'll talk about it later.
Well, that brings up step 2. We got to stop saying the word podcast so much. I think we said it a few times on the first one.
Oh, okay.
Ground rules, just laying some ground rules here. Welcome to October 2018 edition of Breakfast with the Boers. And it's a pretty big one because there may or may not have been a pretty big anniversary in there, which we'll get to. Before we do get right into it, though, Kelly?
It's also Avro's birthday. I don't know what you were about to ask me about our sponsor for today.
Yeah. Episode
yes.
Episode non-sponsor. Who's the non-sponsor of today's episode?
Well, today's very special sponsor I have to say it in a certain way because this is the way I practiced it in my head. Today's podcast is sponsored by termites. They're what's for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all over our house right now.
Oh, that's a good one. I did
a great source of protein.
And apparently tastes like bacon.
For free. Yeah. So where that came
That
from?
is no joke. I just poked my head out the door 5 minutes ago, and I could not even see the doormat. There was so many termites right there.
And it's also not a joke that you can eat them, and some people, it is a great free source of protein.
How do they taste?
I haven't personally tried them.
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Me neither.
I think we'll have to try them.
I'm not picking them up off the
next year when we talk about our 4-year
stoop.
anniversary, maybe that'll be something we have
Not
done.
picking them up off the front door and right into the frying pan. We'll try it on Ethan first.
Just wait. Tomorrow when we have tacos, you'll be like, oh, these tacos are the best ones ever. And I'll be like, termites in tacos.
Nice. Well,
all right. So anyway.
Thank you, termites.
For sponsoring
I don't know what to say to them. Okay. Well, moving right along then. I did mention there's a bit of an anniversary here, and typically I think in North American culture, when you hear the word anniversary, you just automatically think wedding anniversary or something like that. That doesn't really work in this context here because they use the word anniversary for pretty much everything from birthday to wedding to, I don't know, what else do you keep track of every year?
It's true.
Anniversario.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is our anniversary of what here?
It is our 3-year well, not anymore, but it was a couple weeks ago, our 3-year anniversary of being here in Angola, which is really awesome. I mean, it basically means we made it through the first 2 hardest years, and next year will be the end of our first term here, which is kind of our contract term. But yeah, we thought it would be good to reflect on the podcast about the last 3 years and share a little bit about some of our reflections with you. Mm-hmm. So since you're a chair, Marcel, where do we go from here?
I'm a chair? I don't know.
We're trying to figure out this podcast.
Well, were you asking me to reflect on the last 3 years?
No, I thought you were going to ask me, but I can.
But you were talking.
Okay, I can start off by saying, or by asking you.
So I can, yeah.
What, for you, what kind of sticks out in your head about when you first got here in Angola? I was reflecting on this, like first impressions and looking back on that.
Ooh, my first impression, garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage everywhere.
Yeah. Now I don't even see it.
No, and I remember that
crazy.
First day when we drove into town after landing at the airport, it had just downpoured, like the first downpour of the season. And typically when that happens, the garbage which is on the sides of the streets just ends up everywhere and clogs all the sewer drains and such. So when the water subsides a little bit after the rain, then there is just garbage everywhere. And I remember thinking as well, because Marine, who was driving us, stopped to buy bread on the way home on that first drive as well. And I remember as the car was sitting on the side of the road with all of us in it, I'm thinking like, am I safe here? I have no idea. I don't even know. Is it a good idea to get out of the car and start talking to someone? Or now I realize that it's totally fine.
Yeah,
but it's just there's so much new stuff going on. You're like, I have no idea what to do in any situation.
Yeah, related to the bread thing.
Yeah.
I was looking back at our first few blogs to just refresh my memory, and there's this picture of the bread, and I'm so excited about it. Right, the bread here is so good, and now I'm like, it is better than North America bread, but I'm like, that's the boring bread. There's better bread out there.
Better bread.
Now
I feel like there's a tongue twister in there. So. Buy the better bread.
So the garbage and the rain and this like feeling of where are we? Are we safe? That sort of thing.
Anyway, that was of the first few hours. I think my thought after the first chunk of time here and kind of getting involved in the operations at the airport and such, then there was this sense of excitement and then a deep sense of being overwhelmed by just the amount of learning there was to do. And I think that was mainly it. Just I felt so far behind in what I needed to be able to do. And that lasted for at least a year, maybe a year and a half. Then you throw onto it, you have to do it all in Portuguese. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, well, I was gonna go back and just talk about a few of my reflections of the first weeks, but no, let's follow through with what you were saying there. So how has your role in maintenance and your capacity to do the work and your ministry in general, how has it changed or evolved over the 3 years?
I think just in the fact that I've gone into the airport Monday through Friday and doing it over and over again, you just become more familiar with, some of the boring stuff like maintenance schedules and what parts are needed and what should be on the minimum quantity list.
But that's all the stuff that when you first got here was just like, wow.
Oh, I had no clue.
Yeah.
No clue. And I tell a lot of people it's the difference going from my previous work at Air Canada Jazz with 150 other mechanics, and of which 75 are on the floor at any given time, pretty much, or maybe it's half that number even. Anyway, there was a lot of other people that I was working with to coming here and being the guy. And I have the one helper, Basilio, and he's great, but he doesn't know a lot of the maintenance tracking, maintenance software, parts ordering stuff. So I've relied heavily on Marine, who is here mainly as a pilot, but as a mechanic as well. And trying to get training time in to learn those things was quite difficult while the day-to-day operations continued.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've been talking about this obviously for several weeks. I mean, we've been talking for the last 3 years, okay? We have these nighttime walks that we take. So you think breakfast with the Boers is when we do all our talking. No,
but you didn't want to do it tonight. I offered a walk tonight. And, well, I mean, I should probably edit that out because it's breakfast with the Boers and it's breakfast time, right?
Yes.
We always do this at breakfast time?
Yes. Anyway, we take these nighttime walks. So we've reflected on this for the last 3 years, just as we've gone through stressful times and easy times, and stressful times coffee. And easy times.
There's my coffee.
And the incredible thing is that the number of flight hours and the ministry in general has grown over the last 3 years.
True.
But it's not overwhelmed you. A lot of the things, I remember you saying, like, I just got to push through this first year or these first 2 years, and then it will get better.
That's true.
And I was like,
I forgot I said that.
I was almost like, no, it probably won't. Like, in my head, that's what I was saying. And at the same time, I was also saying, that seems so far away. We're never gonna make it. And here we are 3 years later, and it is true. You were right saying these first 2 years are going to be really hard, and then it will probably feel a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've peaked on the learning curve yet. I think there's still I don't know. In my head, I'm visualizing something going up before things get easier and you can really settle in comfortably. I don't think that has peaked yet, but it's definitely gotten to a manageable place.
Yes. And I think a huge part of it was just being able to go back to Canada, get several months to rest, to seek, counsel from people, to just pull away, and then be able to come back in coming from a more refreshed viewpoint. Absolutely, yeah. But also, too, coming back from Canada, we're like, wow, we're not going into something completely unknown anymore. We know what we're coming back for. We're coming back to our house, like not just an unknown apartment. So on that note, I would just like to say that when I think about the first, arriving in Angola, one of the first things that sticks out to me were those horrible yellow couches. I'm so glad we do not have those anymore.
Couch, that's being nice. A 2x4 is more comfortable than those couches.
They were disgusting and covered with this bright yellow cloth, which was supposed to hide the disgustingness, but was not visually appealing either. It was very yellow. And I don't know what yellow...
There was no cushion left in the one end.
Yeah.
It was sitting on a 2x4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember that. I remember the rain. Lots of dogs barking at night.
Yeah. That took a month to get used to before he could sleep through that.
Yeah, lots of music at all hours of the night. Like, I just remember this one time waking up at 5 a.m. and listening to Adele, Hello.
Yes, I remember that.
On repeat. And I was like, what the heck? Like, where is this coming from? And why does it have to be on repeat at 5 a.m?
I think there was a breakup involved. Someone was very sad and just had that playing on loop.
Oh, but a really good thing I remember about first arriving is it was avocado season, which is what we're entering into now. And
well, it is the 3rd anniversary, so
yeah,
time of year.
That's what I mean. We're entering. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, just being like, oh,
that makes sense.
We've reached the land of avocados.
Okay, yeah, yes.
That was really cool.
Going by Brent's tree every morning, I look at it and I see the hundreds of avocados up there.
Yes. So
that's nice.
So there's been highlights and been lowlights. What sticks out to you as highlights from the last 3 years?
Highlight. Well, just in the last month, it's been a very exciting week in the hangar as we have, and I say we, so Basile and I have completed stock count.
Oh, gosh.
Super exciting. We've counted the whole inventory we have. It's an annual thing we do. Normally we get a whole bunch of people involved, but because I wasn't here last year for it, and it got missed 2 years ago, and I think I was not involved when we just got here. It was nice to actually see what do we actually have in stock. It's amazing.
I asked for highlights of the last 3 years.
No, it's a super boring thing, but at the same time, it's actually a super nice thing.
Satisfying.
That's the word. Yeah.
No, but real highlights. I mean.
I've organized it even more. No, highlights. I think it's those moments where we've either been exploring a bit or just involved with some of our work here and having those moments where you go, I never thought I would be in this situation. Or when you say, where am I? You see something and you just know that, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yes.
as Dorothy says. I think some of those moments are seeing an airplane come back from a flight and it's full of passengers on their way to the hospital. And it's just a very eye-opening, because these are people who they don't speak English, they don't speak Portuguese, they are from the bush, and it's their first time to the city, it's their first time to an airport. It was probably their first time in a car on their way to the airstrip when they got picked up. Mm-hmm. And then they go in an airplane for the first time, and they step out of the airplane, and the look on their face you can't really describe. It's you think like, man, how it's such a crazy thing to think that I've met this person.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking. So these people that we are talking about who are coming in to receive necessary medical help, we were just discussing with one of our friends that lives and runs a clinic out in the Matu, it's called, meaning the country, rural area. And just to give you, the bush, there we go. Just to give you context, for example, the daily rate for work there is 1,000 kwanzas, which is the equivalent of like $3.
Yeah, but $3.20 Canadian.
$3 for a day of labor. Okay, so this is not Canada. This is so far removed. I mean, people don't really have a use for money there. That's kind of the reason why.
Yeah.
They live off the land and their cattle and their crops, and that is life. Mm-hmm. They don't really need or know anything outside of it unless something serious happens. And like suddenly they're seeking medical
which is
help.
The main reason that they would come to Lubango, to the city here. Yeah. And I think then in the same regard, seeing them come in and then after like a month, sometimes you might recognize a person going on a flight back out. And now they don't have whatever ailment or illness that they arrived with. Mm-hmm. Speaking mainly about the obstetric fistula girls who come in, and to see just a different look on their face that, they're excited to go home. They're not hurting anymore or having problems.
A lot of the patients that come in have seen years or felt years of pain.
Yeah.
Like that's all they've known for the last several years. Like I was reflecting on, I had a headache yesterday. I was like, this headache is the worst. And then I'm like, if I were an Angolan, I probably would have had this headache for 5 years now. And I just would have learned to live with it.
Yeah. So speaking of other highlights, maybe school related, what highlights can you think of?
I have loved working at the school since day one.
Good. Good. That's good. It's
always been good. This year has really started out as a highlight, I have to say. The biggest highlight being that spiritually, I feel like we're coming into this year really strong. We had one of our high school students become a Christian over the summer break, and that is amazing. That's really the main purpose that we want to be here. But besides that, we have 4 teachers, us 2 long-term teachers, myself and Helena, and 2 short-term teachers. We have our biggest sort of class of students ever, and they're doing really well. They're starting the year really well. We're in a new school. We're doing soccer in PE, and all the kids really like that. So it's just the school year starting off really, really exciting, and hopefully it will continue. You can just be praying for us for that. It is a lot of our kids, I would say, it's this feeling that they're immature baby Christians, and they don't get fed from lots of other places like youth group or from the music and the TV and the atmosphere they're in. A lot of them are they're the lone Christians in their family or the lone Christians in their group of friends outside of school. So you can keep us in your prayers in that regard, and hopefully we'll see some more cool things this year.
Yeah. That's it for highlights.
Well, no, I was going to say highlights of the last 3 years have been, obviously I've loved...
You don't have to state all of them.
No.
Okay. Did you want to state more?
Oh, I was just going to say a few things.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, of the last few years, it's been really fun. We've done a lot of really cool family vacations we never thought we would do. We've been to the beach. I got to fly in a MAF flight one time, and I didn't die, and I didn't puke.
That's what we aim for.
We have amazing friends here, I would say. My highlights often include finding rare treasures in Lubango that I never thought I would find, aka things you can normally buy in a grocery store in Canada.
Like blueberries.
Or
home delivery vegetable orders.
Yes, we just discovered a company that delivers vegetables to the house.
It's like a guy.
A farm.
A farm.
There we go.
Yeah.
Little things. Like
free
that.
delivery.
Yeah. Did you want to add any more things to the highlights?
Do I?
Spearfishing, camping.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of highlights. Did we touch lowlights? Did we want to?
No, but we should touch them. Yeah.
I thought we did. What was I saying before this?
You were talking about your learning curve at work.
The learning curve, yeah. Sometimes learning is not fun.
Lowlights for you were definitely being sick.
Yeah. There's definitely been a lot of health struggles just with being here, and not anything serious, thankfully.
Nothing long-term either.
It's just, I think, the first year and a half we were here, it was definitely a trend of, you'd feel okay for 3 weeks, and then you would not be able to go too far from a bathroom for 3 weeks.
Which was partially solved just by using filter water in the coffee machine.
Now we have a filter at the hangar. And found out how important it is to have filtered water, especially in Africa. We call it the Angola weight loss program. Just drink tap water.
Yes.
It works good. So I'm definitely at a healthier weight this year.
So I would say lowlights definitely included you being sick a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Stressful work times. I remember some of the lowlights were when you were going through particularly big inspections or big training times, and it was just really busy, and there was no time for anything else.
Yeah. Long weeks. Yeah. You? Lowlights? Want to hit one?
Oh, gosh. I can't, honestly, me personally, I think it would just be when you were really struggling. But I don't feel like I had any major lowlights. It was stressful to adapt to being a parent and raising kids here and adjusting to the culture here. And there was, I know it was. There was one time where Ethan kept waking up at 4:30 in the morning. That was a lowlight. That was 2 weeks though, so that's past. All right, we've covered that little reflection on our last 3 years.
All right. Did you have anything else to add, or are we getting close to the end here?
No, I think it's time for our new little segment, though.
Okay, well, because we've already had an episode, we can do a segment now. Now this really depends on...
We have listeners.
On people...
Shout out to all 21 of you, or whatever it is.
I don't know. Is it that high?
I think one of them is Marcel.
So yeah, new segment, questions pending, is listener questions. I feel like we need a little jingle here, listener questions. That would be good. Anyway, we got a question from Rochelle. Rochelle, thanks for tuning in.
Your sister.
Yeah, we don't have to mention that, but she asks.
No. She says, loved the podcast.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that part.
You guys can talk for hours. It's so great hearing from you guys. You never told me she said that part. You just said she had a question.
This might be really bad, because this might indicate how infrequent we've been able to talk.
That's true.
To my own sister, if she's not even sure why I'm here. Because she says, can you talk a bit why there's a need for your position as a mechanic? What's the main issue? Obviously, runways are not the same over there. What does this do to the airplanes? What is the biggest need in the hangar? So that's 5 questions.
Those are great so many questions, Rochelle.
Yes, thanks, Rochelle.
Marcel,
provided you're tuning in after one episode.
He's about to get nerdy. I can sense it.
So
I'm gonna have to cut him off. You have
You
3
might-
minutes to answer all these questions.
Can you talk a bit why there's a need for a position as mechanic? Well, Rochelle, listen up here. It's going to get technical. So airplanes aren't always like cars. In a lot of ways they are, but in a lot of ways they aren't. Because if your car breaks down, like in Africa, it's totally okay to just leave your car sitting in the middle of the road and throw some bamboo bushes right behind your vehicle to indicate your vehicle is not working and you can walk away from it. Airplanes, obviously not so much. They require a lot of maintenance to keep those pesky little breakdowns from happening when you're in the air. So we have to follow maintenance schedules, which is for our little airplanes, every 50 hours they receive an inspection. That's every 50-hour flight time, not every
50 hours of the day.
whether they're sitting or not. No. And the Cessna Caravan, our 10-seater, is similar. It's more like every 100 hours, though. And then there's certain things you got to check the battery every 3 months and charge it and do certain things to it. So certain things are based on calendar time, certain things are based on flight time, and other things are based on engine runtime. So we just do those inspections, and as as we see them wearing out, then we have to change that. And then that also creates a whole lot of other hurdles to try and overcome, because getting parts here, if we don't have it in stock, and this is why our inventory count is so important. There is not overnight shipping to Lubango, Angola. There's been times where we've waited 3 to 9 months for parts. So it's really important to stay on top of maintenance, make sure things are operating as they should be, and trying to do that on a responsible financial level as well.
So I'm going to jump in as a woman and say maintaining an airplane sounds nothing like a car. Because when I own a car, I just don't do anything until something blinks at me.
No, because I fix it. So
Until
you don't have to worry about it.
But this airplane thing, you gotta see ahead and predict what's gonna happen and fix things the second, or maintain things so that nothing ever happens, because you don't want to fall out of the sky. So it's not like a car.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had 5 questions in there, but I think we sort of touched on them all, and I don't think I bored you.
No.
Okay, because I could go a whole lot more into it, like how we have these diesel engines in our little airplanes that are almost on an experimental levels, and that is because we can't get avgas at a decent price in Angola for the last number of years anyway. It's starting to get better. So we have very specialized airplanes, which are new technology, and all the kinks haven't been worked out of them.
Again,
so that's kind of a main issue. The runways we fly into are not always pavement. Most of them are dirt or gravel, so that does a lot of damage to wooden propellers and to little Cessna 182s that like to operate off of pavement. Stones tend to do some damage.
So just speaking from a wife's perspective, he works 5 days a week, 40 plus hours a week, so there must be things for him to do. Because he's never coming home and saying, there's nothing for me to do. So that gives me a perspective about how much work 3 airplanes is.
Yeah, and I really didn't think it would be that much. I remember before we got here, I thought, I'll probably have a lot of other side projects going. But it's not just maintaining the airplanes. It's doing stuff like stock counts and keeping track of inventory, seeing what your next inspections are for the in the next 3 months, and do you have all the parts that you need for them? And yeah, that tends to take up a lot of time.
So I saw a question there. What is the biggest need in the hangar? And I will also answer that, and see if Marcel can figure out what I'm going to say. But I think Marcel's greatest need...
Coffee machine. Like a nice one.
No.
Oh.
Greatest need in the hangar is he'd really like a nice portable speaker so that he can listen to the Breakfast with the Boers podcast once a month while he works.
You're so funny.
No, but he does actually want a speaker. So we're working on that.
Yeah, I think we can figure that out.
So he can blare his music really loud to overpower his Angolan co-workers' music.
Crickets.
All right, well, I think that's the end of...
What is the biggest need in the hangar, though? I don't know. There's not really one thing that really sticks out above the rest. It's kind of the ongoing thing of, we need to keep parts in stock. We need to keep tools calibrated. We need to stay on top of maintenance schedules. A lot of really exciting stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought my answer was more exciting.
Yeah. Well, I said coffee machine. That would be nice. I have a little coffee machine, but I should just be happy with what I have.
Tim Hortons.
That's
what's needed.
Need coffee grounds.
All right. Anyway,
I think
that covers
that concludes listener questions. Yeah, we good?
I don't know. I can't see what you still have left on your list.
No, that's all. Don't look at my list. I think that's it. Okay.
Good.
If you want to stay in touch with us, we'll put emails in the show notes. I just wanted to say show notes because listening to other podcasts, there's certain buzzwords that people like to use, like show notes.
Do we have show notes?
I can make show notes.
Cool.
I'll put in the show
All right.
notes.
It'll
You
be
can
in the
check
show
us
notes,
out
people.
at MAF Angola, Twitter, Instagram. And I said, the stuff will be in the show notes. And finally, people need to rate this, apparently. That's another thing people like to do with podcasts. Give us a rating. So what would you rate this podcast, this episode? How did we do? I was going into it thinking this would be like a 3.
2 thumbs up?
No, it's out of 5.
5 thumbs up?
You said 5. I went into it with a 3. I think I may have upgraded to a 4.
Okay, well...
Anyway.
We probably shouldn't rate our own podcast. That doesn't
Go ahead
seem fair.
and rate it, and then we'll find out what you really think about it.
But we will hunt you down if it's not a 5. Okay.
Until next time.